Welcome to Cashless Savannah, episode 34. Today's topic, how to keep your Airbnb perfect. Chandler, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm very far from perfect, but we're going to really try to hit that perfection level today. I think we can do it.
Yeah, no, that's what every guest wants at Airbnb. So that's what
That
we
is
strive for.
that is absolutely true. They want it perfect. And as Airbnb hosts, short-term rental hosts, we deal with this every day. I wanted to talk about this topic because I was recently a guest in someone's short-term rental. I went to Austin, Texas. I'm in a women's entrepreneur group, which is fantastic, and we did a goal setting retreat. So there were 10 of us. We rented a very large house in Austin, and the pictures were phenomenal. I mean, gorgeous, gorgeous house. But after we booked it, we started reading the reviews, and they said sketchy area and I mean all kind of stuff. So we really didn't know what we were in for. And of course, I'm seeing this now as the guest, but I also see it as someone who's been in this industry for, about 8 years. And, when I hear negativity, it just makes me cringe because usually I'm the one on the other line, having to deal with that. So anyway, it was kind of a neat way to really experience the property.
Yeah, no doubt. I stayed in one recently as well. So as a property manager, it's different now when I stay.
Yes.
I kind of go and I don't pick the place apart when I'm like, oh, they could do this better or they could do this better. That most people just wouldn't see. But yeah, that's kind of what I do now. So
I hate to say I everyone does, and I do as well. But I also am always thinking about the host first and not myself. So we arrived at this rental and I mean, I don't know Austin pricing, honestly, but it's got to be close to $1 million property. Like if you look at Google, it was an old shack and they had buzzed the shack and put up this new house. So it's a brand, relatively new house within the last couple of years. And of course, the photos are flawless, and you walk in, and it really had the ooh factor. And it was fun walking through with my friends because we're all experiencing it for the first time. But then the complaining starts within the first 5 minutes. Oh, this is like this. This is broken. The shower in the master bathroom, they have a shower. And it's like, wow, that's kind of interesting. There's no tub. There was a door to this private patio space, and out on the patio was a tub, which the concept is really cool, but the plumbing was broken. Like there weren't even any handles, on the plumbing. So the more time we spent in this house, the more little issues that we saw in the house. And
mhm.
I understood it from the guest side because I'm thinking, gosh, even though I have no intention of taking an outside bath in January in Austin, it looks really cool to have that. And you could definitely tell that they've had a lot of large groups there. Chandler, this would have driven you crazy. They had the handles that are flat, they're ADA handles or whatever, and you would push them down to a 90-degree
Yeah.
angle in order to open the door. A lot of the handles were like this, like a floppy 90-degree. They just needed a good tightening. There were just a lot of things with the property that I saw. And I almost snapped pictures and texted you, and I resisted, but it was interesting hearing my friends walk through and they started going, should we ask for a discount? This is terrible. This. We should get a discount. And you should have seen my face. I was like this the whole time. Because I know how hard it is to keep up such a large house and keep it perfect. And then when those discount requests through, it's so difficult.
Yeah, no doubt. That's when I stayed. The same thing. They were like, "Should we like get a discount?" Or now there were some things that were probably could have gotten a discount. But I was just like, no, just leave them like private. Just leave a private review. Let them at least know, like, hey, here's some things we saw. I just never. I don't really, unless it's like really, really bad, where they kind of get. Because most, if you just message like the host, they'll be like really accommodating and really nice about it. Hey, let me please let me make this up for you. Some people don't even do that. They just kind of just hits you out of nowhere, like, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't even know if you would have given us a little chance, we can fix that for you. But yeah, I always say just leave a private note, and if I don't know, just I mean that's someone's livelihood that you're kind of reviewing, that's someone's
Right.
business, and Um, but yeah, I don't normally leave a bad review. If I don't like the property, I just don't review it at all. and I'll leave them a private note saying, "Hey, um, here's what you can fix, just so you don't get the bad review in the for the next day or whatever." That's kind of what I normally do. But some people are just, I feel like some people, no matter what, before they stay at that property, they're just mad at the world and they want to find something. And honestly, it's sad, but I feel like it's just a lot of people are like that nowadays. That's just how they are.
I agree. We've created a very judgy society of Karens, and being the person on the other end of that 99% of the time. And honestly, call me crazy, okay? I do believe in karma, and what you put out there also comes back. And I think a lot of people that are very negative and angry, they put it out and it comes right back at them because they're, people tend to react to how they're treated. And so they probably
Mhm.
do get treated with a lot of negativity in their life, but it's also because they're putting it out there. And so I'm really big on putting out positivity, and then I really want positivity back. So I'm with you. Anytime I stay in a short-term rental, unless it's just egregious, which it rarely is, I'm always like, I'm going to give them a 5-star review and then tell them in the private notes, just like what you said. I was at a short-term rental in Asheville a few years ago. There were no hair dryers in the house, and there need to be hair dryers in every bedroom. Well, it actually was a 4-bathroom house. We had a pretty large place. And she messaged me back. She said, "But we have a hair dryer in one bathroom." And I said, "I'm not going to go in someone's bathroom. When someone's sleeping in a bedroom and they have a private bathroom, even though it was my family, I still don't just barge in and dig through their bathroom." And
Yeah.
she said, but I told her in the private notes exactly what you said. I gave her a 5-star review, blah, blah, blah. And I just said in the private notes, "Hey, I want just to be of service to you. It would be so nice to have a hair dryer in every bathroom. It's literally $10." And
Mhm.
she appreciated that. Now I'm being of service and I don't feel like I'm
Yeah.
putting out negativity.
So yeah, no, it's always, that's why it's such a tough job for us, because it's pretty negative 99% of the time. Just
Right.
you're dealing with problems. You're just constantly problem solving. And yeah, I just feel like guests should just have a little bit more, give us a little bit more give, and at least let us know. That's the thing,
Right.
is a lot of it's like they'll stay for a week and you think everything's perfect, because normally when they don't say anything, everything's perfect. Then they just rail you. I'm like, if you would have let us know night one that you didn't have a blow dryer, we would have had a blow dryer there for you night two that morning.
I
Uh,
agree.
so
I totally agree. I stayed at one in Philly. It was a new host. It was a guy. And, I'm not trying to be, dog on guys, but it's tough. Guys don't think about the little things. And my sister-in-law needed an iron. She needed a couple of just random things like that. And he went and bought them and brought them over. And she was like, "What should I give him as a review?" And I said, "Give him a 5-star review." The guy literally anything we needed, he ran it over and gave it
yeah,
to us. And I know how much effort that is. So again, from being on the other side, I'm just really big on giving grace and be like, this person did their absolute best, and I'm not perfect. This host isn't
yeah.
either. So,
I mean, if you got to think, we stayed at like Ritz Carlton, and I could pick a place that far. Like I really could, but I mean, I don't do that. But I feel like, yeah, it's, you would think you can't pick apart the Ritz Carlton, but you can. You can go
yeah,
stay at these other places. You can find something for sure.
I
So
stayed at the same hotel. We were there at Bigger Pockets this year, and there in my shower where I was with my roommate, there was a hair in the shower. And
yeah,
I did not scream at anyone. I didn't freak out about it. I was like, "I'm going to put this into the universe." And I just got a piece of toilet paper and I threw it away. And no one had to die that day. But man, sometimes you'd think that we just slaughtered one of their favorite pets or something. It's crazy.
yeah. No, I think if you can just, as a property manager, if you can just kind of handle it the right way, if you do get to handle it, that's
Right.
the key. Like I had a buddy that he was doing like a New Year's thing, and they were staying at this huge, nice house, and showed up not cleaned. And he calls me. Everybody calls me when they're staying in a property because they're like, "Dude, what would you do?" And I'm like, "Well, I like just call nicely and say, hey, like our property's not clean. Don't like," because you can tell he was kind of frustrated, and I'm not. I don't. Even if it was me, Sean, I wouldn't have been that mad because I understand. And what they did is they came and cleaned that night, and it was a group of 14 or 16, I believe, and they brought over like 16 pizzas. And so that's kind of like, that was the thing. I was like, see, like And by the time they had forgotten, they're like, "Oh, this is awesome! Like, thank you so much." They thought it was the best thing ever. And then they're like, check in or check out is like 10 a.m. They're like, just check out whenever you want. So most like hosts are really forgiving and kind of they want to do their best they can.
Right. And
So
boy, when a cleaner doesn't show up and you think they've been there, there's no terror in the world like when you realize that. And
that's the worst feeling.
it's terrible. And no one wants their house to be, I mean, I had before you worked here, Chandler, we had a house on Tybee that we still manage it, but I'm saying the guest showed up at 10 o'clock at night and there was not only was it dirty, it was full of penis glitter. There had been a bachelorette party there and the cleaning company didn't show. And I ran out there. They called at 10. I was there by 11 because it takes me an hour. And the head of the cleaning company, the owner, he showed up as well. And we cleaned that house until 2 in the morning. We brought wine for them. We brought some food. Just I didn't want to stop for very long. And these guests sat out on the patio and talked while we cleaned the house. And of course, we refunded them money. It was so not their fault. But I just their attitude about the whole thing, I can't even tell you. It just made it so much better because the company messed up. I felt terrible. We made it right, but that kind of happens. We couldn't be perfect in that situation.
And another thing is like some people don't see this, but these cleaners, someone checks out at 10 and these cleaners have until 4. Let's say it's a quick turn. Um, like it's tough to go in and like tighten all the door handles or do kind of that stuff. And sometimes you don't even see that. Some people
Right.
just don't see that.
There's something under
Um,
the couch.
but that's the thing is that's why it's always good to get that private feedback. Say, hey, like if you just tighten up the doors, because as soon as you get that feedback, it's most hosts go and get that done. But some people just don't really like we don't get much feedback, which I wish we could. It's just the bad review or whatever, and then it's over with. And you're like, dang,
That's true.
I
Well, that's not, we never stay in any of the properties that we manage. We don't know what it's actually like to live there. And that private feedback is really crucial. And it is helpful if the guests will say that, like, hey, you might want to check on this. We really appreciate it. So, but let's go back to our word though, Chandler, of perfect. Like we manage a lot of different properties. Like, what are ways that investors and hosts can really try their best to keep properties perfect? What are ways that you see where owners kind of let things go sometimes and it's really difficult?
so this is the biggest thing for me probably is like bathrooms. Like I don't know what it is if I have a clean bathroom, I just feel 10 times better about the entire place. And I don't know if I've ever told you that, but just for me at least if I'm staying there. And so like when someone doesn't update the bathroom and it's an old tub or an old just something older, like it doesn't feel that clean to me. No, it could be clean, it could be
Right.
bleached, spotless, but I just know I'm like, dang, it doesn't feel clean. Especially like with the caulk around there, like an old caulk around it, just doesn't feel clean. That's one of the things if like as an investor, like just especially with short-term rentals would be bathrooms. If you can make a clean, sleek bathroom, oh, it just makes that place feel 10 times cleaner. And another thing I also learned that I want to say is I heard this from Pace Morby. He every time he goes into a property, he puts can lighting in, no matter what.
Mm,
He's like, it brightens up the property, and he talks about he's like a brighter property is kind of like a brighter person. He's like, when you get a dull property, it's kind of like you get a duller person. That's kind of how he explained it, and I was like, oh, that's kind of true. But also, like a bright property just looks good. It looks clean. It's nice and bright. It feels good. So that was
oh,
another thing that was like can lights all day, every day. So
interesting. Well, and I have a tub in one of my short-term rentals right now in Richmond Hill, and there's nothing wrong with the tub. It's a it's not a plastic tub, it's actually a porcelain tub. And
mm,
so and it has two pretty good scratches in the porcelain. And there's nothing we can do. It's not a clean issue. And most people don't care. But I did have this one guest that just said, this tub is not clean. And I'm like, but it's like a permanent scratch in the
yeah.
porcelain. Like, what can we? I don't even know what you could do for that, but that's her perception, right? And she gave us a bad review on it, and it's painful. That was also the guest that opened the attic door and said the house was dirty. So I don't know that she was kind of mentally all there. Like she was really
Mhm.
trying to get a refund or whatever.
There's some people out there trying to, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This house, it has this little half door, like at the top of the stairs, is clearly not a door where you go in. You open it and it's the attic and you can see the
Yeah.
work, but
Oh yeah.
we found
I
some dirt.
remember that guest now.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. But yeah, I think as knowing, when I started in this business, any house would make money. And now things have really changed to where there's a very high standard. People are just, you live on or die based on your reviews. And, as an investor myself, owning multiple furnished rentals, I've been going in and putting money in. And speaking of bathtubs, I'm starting to rip them out. First, when I bought properties, I would coat the tub, which costs, I don't know what it costs now, but back, 3 or 4 years ago, it was about $600. And that would make the bathroom look brand new. But
Hmm.
now, 3 and 4 years later, that coating is starting to come out. And again, even if it's cleaned, it still doesn't look clean. And I just really am big on tile showers right now. So I've been just ripping out the tubs and then putting in a fresh white or gray, or I have one of them, I did a light green
Hmm.
tile, and it's hard to make it look bad now that it's like indestructible.
Yeah. I love a good clean bath. It's just one of
Yeah.
the things that I want is a good clean bathroom because like older flooring you can get away with. Like it's just easier. You can put a nice little rug down and make it look good, even though that's some things you can get away with, but it's just tough to get away from that old tub. Like it I know it's bleached clean. Like I've seen the cleaners clean it, but it's just so old. It just always looks dirty. So
Well, and do you remember the bathroom on East 71st? We used to manage it, we don't now, but the caulking, like you said earlier, was awful in this tub, and it didn't, like, there was no making it better. I really felt that the owner needed to just put the money in and put in a new shower in there. It was just like, once a property is a little too old, I just don't know that there's really no making it perfect.
yeah, no doubt. And we manage a lot of older. Honestly, it's just a lot of older homes in Savannah in general. There's not really many just new,
Right.
nice homes, and so just kind of managing in an older home, at least a new bathroom you can put in, rip out the tub, put in a tile shower. It's probably the first thing I would do if it was that bad. That's probably where all my money would go.
I have to say though, that's where I wish many times a week that the guest would give us a little grace, because sometimes a guest will just fillet you on stuff that you can't control,
Yeah,
such as the fact that it's an older home and a lot of them have these glass doorknobs, which I love them. They give character, but they're a little bit difficult to use. There's no smooth, easy, transition, just things like that that we would have to cut into the character of the home to replace it. And that's why most owners don't. But yeah, I just wish sometimes guests would go, okay, this was built in 1895. I'm going to give them a little bit of grace that the doors are kind of small, or it seems like we've had that criticism before. Like the hallway was narrow. And it's just like, it's a historic home. Like, give me a break, dude. Like,
yeah. There's no way of like it's kind of tough to manage that. We don't really because as a property manager, we get reviewed based on the house that we don't own. Oh, the property manager was great,
yeah. But the
and then we
bathroom
just
is small. Remember that one? The bathroom is really small.
yeah, and so like it's just a tough area to be in. Um, I guess I'm kind of a just kill them with kindness. It's even more because to be in this business, you just have to be
Yeah.
just always just take one punch and keep rolling with it, and then keep going and
Yeah.
still be nice about it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we discussed it in our morning meeting this morning. We had a review this past weekend and someone gave us 3 stars because there was construction nearby. And the house is a fantastic house. And I'm just completely offended by that. Airbnb won't take it down. But you and I, and none of us in our realm have any control over construction on the next block. That it just frustrates me. But one thing I did see in this very nice mansion in Austin, and again, I understand a house that holds groups of people is going to take a lot more abuse, but had the owner put in doorstops, it would have been a lot better, because multiple rooms, I noticed that the handles had popped into the sheetrock. Here in Savannah, we don't have quite as many issues with that because the homes are older and they have wood siding, or they have beadboard, or they have stucco, which tends to be very sturdy. So we don't deal with it quite as much here. But I kept thinking, wow, if the owner would spend $50 at Lowe's and put in a doorstop either at the base of the door or on the wall, they can even cover that hole in the sheetrock with like a round doorstopper. The whole tenor of the room kind of changes once you don't have that doorknob shaped hole in the sheetrock.
Yeah.
These are things, and I'm sorry, we're going to keep using this word perfect, but these are things that can up the perception of perfect in your short-term rental.
Yeah, no doubt. I see a hole in the sheetrock, that's got to get fixed that day.
I agree. Or cover.
Yeah, like it has to. That's tough to just get away with. I think that's kind of all
Or
right. They can complain about that.
or on the next turnover. Like sometimes we can't do stuff like that the day of. We try, but we always make a note in our system like next turnover, we have to have this.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I see a lot is that people don't update their light fixtures. And light fixtures are so cheap. You can buy can lighting for 15 to $25. You can buy ceiling fans for $70. Like there are some really inexpensive ways to update a home without spending thousands of dollars. And
Yeah,
that can really up that perception of it being perfect. But when you see old, yucky lighting, especially lighting that's not been cleaned, it's going to be a lot harder to get that perfect review on a house.
yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think. It doesn't sound from my buddy's experience at college. It doesn't sound like they have a quality control checker, which is a pretty big deal to have. I wonder if that Austin, because it's nice to have a quality control checker that can go in and that's the one that picks apart the place. Because cleaners, they don't really get to pick the place apart because they're just so like in a hurry. Like they got to get in and get out because they don't have that much time. So it's good to have a quality control checker to go and just pick the. Not many people like the quality control checker because they are picking the place apart. But I mean, you got to do it.
Yep, that's their job, is to see maintenance things. Now, I
Yeah.
have to say, this house that I stayed in, the one thing they had going for them was that awe factor when you first walked in. They had to have had someone. They did, they had lighting on, they had stair lighting on, and then they
Yeah.
had these neon lights throughout the home, kind of in hallways and stuff, but it gave it light. They had all that on. And one thing I really liked, I've been meaning to talk to you about this and I forgot. Every TV had a fireplace going. It was
Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder if we could do that because we have all smart TVs, and it made a nice entry point to have some lights on. The temperature was good, which we already do that, but they had every single TV in the house had a fire going,
Mhm.
on the TV. And it really made for a very welcoming, homey experience. One of the TVs in the upstairs living room that I had to walk past to get to my room, we just left it on. We enjoyed it so much. We just left the fire going,
Yeah.
the whole time. So that was, I have to say, that's one thing they did well, was that initial like ooh and ah. But then the more time you spent, the more you're like, they need to do some repairs and some landscaping. So
Sounds like it's have more of a maintenance handyman issue than
yes,
actual hosting. Uh, which honestly, getting a handyman over there in a timely manner can be difficult in some
yes.
areas. So we're lucky enough to have somebody that's pretty quick.
We have a
But
village of them.
yeah, so you have to have multiple. So, but yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I like that idea. I've seen somebody do that, almost like a welcome video. I've seen that. I think it's pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, I liked it.
But the thing about it is, like you just said, you almost forget about that because of the other stuff, and they're not going to mention that.
That's true. And they had forgotten.
Nobody-
You're absolutely right. But
like
it made
nobody wants to mention that. They just want to mention the negative.
right. Well, and the
But
longer you stay in the property, the more you see it. And I've told owners this so many times. So for an owner to spend money, let's say getting a new doorknob for it, let's just go with the doorknob kind of hanging like this, and let's say it needs to be brand new. Well, that's a $50, maybe once you pay handyman, $75 thing. Nobody really gets it. It's frustrating. I see the owners from the management side where they go, what did you buy now? They're frustrated, and I understand that. But if you looked at the cost difference between a $75 doorknob and a $150 refund because the guest had so many complaints, you're actually going to save money by keeping the home at a very high standard, never having those complaints and never having to repair them when it's an emergency. When I have to send someone in after hours to do something, that's going to cost that homeowner a lot. I mean, it's so much better to just repair it and be done with it. So, I mean, I'll call myself out. I bought a property with a beautiful glass top stove, and it had a crack in it, but it worked perfectly. I had it checked out. I was going to try to replace it, and they said, "No, it'll cost you the price of a whole stove." Most of the guests did not care about that crack, but there were several that just thought it was horrendous. They lit us up over it. They demanded a refund, yada, yada. I ended up replacing the whole stove finally, just because I said, look, I don't want even the perception that something is broken when they walk in. I want them to feel like the home is perfect. And this is clearly causing an issue for 20 to 30% of our guests. And I just sucked it up and took care of it. And I wish I would have done it several years ago.
Yeah, no, that's I 1,000% agree with that. I think the nicer you keep it, I think it actually makes you more money. Like if you spend a little bit more, it's going to make you more. I think some people just I like they want to make that money right away, and if they can just hold off to where they're at least breaking even, um, they will eventually make that money back if they put in just a little bit more.
And
So
once rarely do I see us give a guest money back and then get a 5-star review. They
that,
still
that
end up trashing us.
never.
So I'm always like, well, why give them money back? They're still going to trash us. You know what I mean? Like that's my calculation on it, perfect or not. But it's like, it is just so hard to be perfect. But I just want to encourage everyone that's in the short term or long term rental space, fix the issue, fix it right away, fix it when it's not an emergency. And the nicer you keep that house, the better it's going to be perceived by that guest.
For sure. Yeah, it's going to keep you. It'll keep a lot of problems away for sure if you just fix it. And I don't know, like it's kind of tough because like you want to get into investing, and sometimes you just don't have all that money
Right.
uh, to just put in there. So maybe I don't. It's a tough like. Oh, I want to make it a nice short-term rental, but at the time you can't. So I'm almost like just don't even put it up as a short-term rental if you can't, because it's gonna be a headache. Maybe long-term rental it until you can pull some money out, and then put a really nice short-term rental in there. Um, that's kind of my opinion on it.
Well, and just for Sid was here, we've had thousands of happy guests that
Mhm.
never said anything. And
Yeah.
but it's the unhappy ones that are going to review you. You know, there are a lot of Karens out there. And in this day and age, it's just really hard to even make a lot if the home takes bad reviews. So yeah, I just can't say enough. There really is no perfect, but try to keep the house at the highest level possible that you possibly can, because it really is going to head off those bad reviews and loss of revenue. One bad
Yeah.
review on a property will cost the owner into the
Oh,
future. Other
it's
people read
tough.
it,
Yeah, it's tough to come back from. And
right?
another thing I want to say is I feel like a lot of property managers are already just upset constantly because they're handling a bunch of complaining and bickering. Just make sure you keep that just happy face on and keep killing them with kindness because it's almost like they want you to come back at them, like so they can start something. And if you just keep it like, hey, like we really want to help you out, they're kind of like, oh, okay, um, yeah. So just hang in there.
That's exactly right. And encourage the guest. If you have an issue, please let us make it right while you're there. Please don't put it in a public review. Give us a chance to make it right.
Hmm.
That has brought in some, additional messages like, hey, this is not working. You got to get on it. Like it's hard to criticize a host that, in my opinion, of course, there are some Karens, but
Yeah.
that's really,
And then the crazy thing is how like Airbnb is like, oh, well, a 5-star review is this. Like, yeah, they walk into an issue and you handle it immediately. That's still a 5-star review, but guests don't see it that way. That's how, if you look at Airbnb's like 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, it's like, but guests don't know that. They're like, oh, just send them that. Well, they don't care.
yeah, we had one the other day, Chandler. The guest gave us a 4-star review on a property and said nothing but great things about it.
Oh yeah,
It's like in Airbnb, which is our main booking platform for short-term rentals, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are basically trash, and then
yeah,
is good. Like there's really no in between.
it's
And
5 only.
I was like, really? 4 stars? And you had a
Yeah.
great stay and the house is lovely?
Mhm. Yeah. Some people just don't know. They don't understand. Like, okay, this wasn't the Ritz Carlton, but it was a step below the Ritz Carlton. So we're gonna give them a 4 star because Ritz Carltons are 5 stars. I think that's how some people see it.
Yeah, that's not okay. My lowest review for that Ritz-Carlton was that I paid $22 for ramen. That's terrible. I still can't believe I did that.
You're still on that.
Starving. We got in late. We go to the Bigger Pockets party and there was no food to speak of. And of course, we see all of our friends, Hunt Chandler, we're talking, there's alcohol, but there's no food. And so it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I am so hungry. And I paid $22 for ramen at the Ritz-Carlton. I'm still kind of sick about that. That's awful.
You should have given a 4 star review for that.
Um, I will not be a Karen. It's on me. I mean, I'm the one that ordered it, but I'm still kind of mad about it. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, it was ramen.
I didn't order anything, so
The food was not good that night.
yeah. Well, what I want to ask from the guests is like, hey, like, what are some things that you do to keep your property perfect, so to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to hear comment down below and tell us what y'all do to just keep those 5 stars rolling in. We do keep the 5 stars rolling in. We just kind of want to talk about the bad stuff that we do get and kind of how we handle them because yeah, we do get bad reviews and surprisingly,
It
but
happened.
yeah, we're always the thing about it is we're always striving to be 6 stars instead of 5, you know? So
We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
yeah,
And we hope that you as a listener can learn something from this as well. And, comment below. Is there something that you've seen in a short-term rental that did make you say, look, they just don't deserve it? We get that too. Like nobody's perfect, but we're definitely trying. We are
yeah,
definitely.
for sure. Well, we appreciate y'all listening to today's episode. Please like, comment, subscribe, share it to everyone. We would greatly appreciate it. And we will see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.